Tip 1 is to make sure you use your rod hook holder. It's there for a reason. We do not want to put our hooks on the rod eye. That's going to nick and fray your line, and it's going to wear down the rod eye over time. That's not what it's meant for. And don't worry, if your rod doesn't have one of these, just leave the lure unhooked and you can tie it when you get to the lake. Okay, tip 2, you always want to have your landing net with you, whether you are bank fishing or out on the boat. All you need to do is land the trophy fish of a lifetime and lose it right at shore, or he breaks you off at the boat when you try to lift up a heavy fish without a net. Don't be foolish. Don't leave home without it. Tip 3 is to always have at least 2 rods with you whenever you go fishing, because if one rod or reel breaks and you're out on the boat or deep into a trail at your secret fishing spot, you will have to quit fishing if you haven't come prepared with a backup rod. Be smart, plan ahead. Always have 2 rods with you whenever you go. Okay, tip 4 is you have to be a knot tying pro. We are showing you the uni knot here, which is the best knot we like because it's very strong. It won't fail you if you tie it right. And it's super easy to tie once you practice it a few times. You do not want a big fish to break you off because of a faulty knot. So just as in the last 2 tips, it's the little things you do and think of before you ever go out on the lake that ultimately determines your fishing success or lack thereof. Tip 5 is to replace all of your treble hooks, worm hooks, and jigs, etc. with blood red hooks. That's because it's the bass's favorite color and the one they see best. Also, red hooks will mimic a wounded or dying bait fish. It's been proven fish are more likely to strike using red hooks because of an easier meal. No different than sharks being able to smell and taste blood in the water from a mile away. This hack will help you catch more fish every time. That's all we use in every single one of our videos. Tip 6 is to be quiet when you are out fishing. This applies to both shore fishing and certainly while out on a boat too. That's because most fish have great hearing, and while you may want to rock out to your favorite songs, the fish will be long gone before you ever drop your bait in the water. Here's the easiest example I can give you. Many fishermen I know are also deer hunters. When is the last time you ever saw a deer hunter blaring loud music on his boombox up in the tree stand? The answer is never. So don't make this simple mistake when you're out on the water either. Just keep quiet and you will catch more fish every single time. Tip 7 is to switch to braided line. It's one of the best ways to make sure you never have to worry about losing a fish that you actually get on the line. It is far superior to monofilament because it is super sensitive and allows you to feel everything the fish is doing in the water. And it has 0 strength and memory, unlike monofilament. And that means it will significantly reduce or even eliminate reel backlashes and bird's nests that can be so frustrating. 20-pound line is all you need for basically every freshwater fish. You can go up to 50 if you're catching big catfish. Tip 8 is to go weedless in your worm hook and jig presentation when fishing for bass and panfish. That's because when you go weedless like this with the weed guard here, it allows you to get into the thickest of cover, the lily pads, the brush piles where the big boys are hiding. They stay there to be cool and to be able to ambush unsuspecting prey. And this little wire is so soft, as soon as the fish bites, he just pushes down and exposes the hook right in their mouth. Okay, tip 9 is a live bait trick that's going to help you catch more fish. Watch this. Is to run the hook through the body of the worm, okay? And just feed it all the way down the shank of the hook, assuming this is the worm hook you want to use, okay? This is going to prevent bluegill and other pesky fish from stealing the worm before it gets to the prize catch, which is a bass or a walleye or a catfish. So this is what it's going to look like when you've gone through the body of the worm. You can even use it here with the weedless hook guard. Okay, tip 10 is to fish where the fish are, and that will automatically increase the chances of you catching more fish every time. It's true that in most lakes, you've probably heard the 80-20 rule, right? That is, 80% of the fish are usually found in only 20% of the lake. And that's because the fish are actively chasing after the bait fish. They're looking for cover, and especially in summer, they're looking for cooler water and deeper pockets where there's more oxygen concentration. So study your electronics if you're out on the boat fishing, and if you're fishing at the bank, talk to locals at your nearby bait shop. Ask around, what are other fishermen using? What are they catching fish on? And where? And every time you do this, you're going to up your chances of success just by knowing where to fish. Tip 11 is to make sure your rod eyes are always straight before you ever cast out your rod. So if you've got a two-piece rod, you got to make sure that all of your rod eyes are aligned before you make your first cast. Because if you don't, you're going to get a line tangle in your spool, and that's going to cause all kinds of frustrating problems. Tip 12 is to always carry hand sanitizer with you. And that's because fish also have a great sense of smell, and this prevents us from transferring scents and oils from our hands onto the baits. And it makes the bait look less natural to the fish. This stuff evaporates quickly, won't harm the fish, and you'll improve your chances of letting the actual bait do the work naturally like it's supposed to do. Tip 13 is to always carry a pair of Needlenose Players with you in your tackle box. And that's because you have to make sure that your lures are running straight before you ever go fishing. A lot of times your lure is going to be banging against rocks and stumps and vegetation, and it causes them not to swim straight. We're going to use our Needlenose Pliers, and we're going to adjust the nose or the bridge of any of your crankbaits and jerkbaits and lures. Just make simple adjustments. Once you make the adjustments, swim it and make sure that it's swimming and wobbling correctly. Tip 14 is to always have a measuring tape or a ruler with you whenever you go fishing, whether you're out on the boat or fishing from shore. Of course, this is especially true if you're keeping the fish you catch. You have to know that body of water's rules and regulations on each species size and creel limits, and you make sure you only keep the proper number of fish at the proper size. Because the last thing you want to do is spoil a great day of fishing by getting stopped in the parking lot or on shore by a game and fish warden and getting fined or having your fish confiscated because you didn't know the rules for that particular body of water. Just don't let that happen to you. Tip 15 is to always carry your fishing license or special stamps or permits, whatever you need where you are fishing. Game and fish wardens take this stuff pretty seriously, and more times than not, you're going to get a ticket versus a warning. It's just not worth the risk. You know, the money we pay for our licenses does go to good causes, like the stocking of fish, preserving the natural habitats, things like that. So always carry it with you whenever you leave the door. Tip 16 is to always have some type of hook remover with you. You got to be really careful when the hook is especially deep in the fish's belly, because if you aren't careful, you can puncture their lungs or rip out vital organs and it'll kill them on the spot. Sometimes it's just best to leave the hook in and cut the line if you have to. It'll give the fish a chance to survive. The hook will eventually rust out or fall out over time. Tip 17 is a spinning rod reel hack. Here's the reel hack that's going to actually make things easier on you and preserve the life of your spinning reel. As soon as the lure hits the water, you want to release the bail manually as opposed to turning the crank here. It's going to be a lot less clunky, and it's going to prevent any backlashes in the line. Tip 18 is to always carry braided line scissors with you wherever you go. How many times have you gotten a line tangle when you're out on the boat or fishing from shore and you just can't untangle it easily and you have to cut the line to save time and energy? It has happened to all of us at some point. So if you're using braided line like we talked about in tip 7, normal scissors will not cut this stuff. And don't pull braided line with your hands. It'll cut you like a razor. Tip 19 is to make sure all of your hooks are always razor sharp and they don't get dull. Now this is common sense, but very important that a dull hook is simply not going to be as effective at landing the fish and making sure the hook stays in his mouth. So either keep a hook sharpener with you at all times or replace out worn and old hooks at least every year. It's a cool winter project to do when you have some free time. Tip 20, always carry a towel or a rag with you. We'll explain why. You can always use a towel or a rag to hold a slimy fish if maybe you're fishing with a child and they're reluctant to hold the fish. And you can also use it to clean up spills in the boat. And you have to clean your fishing rods and reels when you've been fishing in the rain. And maybe most importantly, if you dig a treble hook into your skin and you can't get her to stop bleeding, you're going to need the rag for that too. Okay, last tip 21 is to remember to match the hatch, and that is to use bait and lure colors in any lake you are fishing that closely resemble the forage or the bait fish colors in that lake. You have to feed the fish what they want, not what colors you think are appealing to the human eye. So if you match your lure to the colors the fish see every day, you will catch more fish. Good luck out there, folks.